Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PG Roundtable today. My name is Niamh O'Mahoney. I'm a PhD student in the School of Chemistry in UCC and chairperson of the CEF's Postgrad Committee. I also sit on the PG Council with my colleague here, Michael Vaughan. I'll let Michael introduce himself now.
Hi, so I'm Mike Vaughan. I'm also a final year PhD student. I'm based in the Department of Physiology, and I'm the chair of the College of Medicine and Health Postgraduate Committee. Alongside Niamh, we do the work of the postgraduate representation through the university. So our session today is hopefully to encourage you to take part in postgraduate education, be that master's, doctoral, specific clinical or practical training. Whatever it is, we're hoping to answer some questions, shed some lights on some different parts. We have a host of different speakers today, and we're going to be going through a few general questions. A tiny bit of a heads up, UCC is in 4 colleges, and that covers the general disciplinary areas. So we have the College of Medicine and Health, which is my college. Niamh is in the College of Science, Engineering and Food Science. Then we also have the College of Business and Law, and we have the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences. So just shorthand, just so people can follow along with us, if we happen to say Med Health, CEFs, CB&L or CACs, we're just referring to the different colleges. What's important in this regard is we're talking about disciplinary areas. We all have different backgrounds, we all have different careers we're going for, and each disciplinary area will have different reasons for postgraduate studies. We're going to encourage you to put your questions into the chat. If we have time, we'll try and follow up with them as they're going on. We only have an hour and we have a lot of people to talk to. So I think that's everything. I'll throw you over to Niamh for the first session.
Brilliant. So our first question today, we've got a group of postgraduate students here for you to get this question answered. And the group is for PG studies, and the value of PG studies and why people pursue these PG studies is Deandra, Tinghao, Taig and Bajoy. So the question we put to them today is, why was postgraduate education the right choice for you? And we might start with Deandra.
Perfect. Thanks, Niamh. So I think there was 3 main reasons why I continued my education with UCC. I did do my undergrad with UCC, and then I continued on to study the LLB in the College of Business and Law. And I'm currently an MSc student in the International Public Policy and Diplomacy programme with CACs. So I suppose I wasn't really ready to leave. Not that I didn't have the skills and the capacity to go on to the workforce, but I wasn't ready to stop that learning. I think UCC has an incredible learning environment, and I really wasn't ready to leave that. And I think I wanted to specialise as well, as much as I could really, within political science. But I had the incredible opportunity to do my undergrad work placement in the New York State Assembly, and that really gave me an insight into how policy shapes, the everyday lives of individuals, and that's what I wanted to focus on. And I remember reading through all these legislative drafts and not understanding at all what was going on. So I went then and studied a postgraduate Bachelor of Law degree, which was incredible, and trying to explain the difference to people of what a bachelor postgraduate was and a master's, it was definitely a trial at some stages. But I think I'm entering quite a male-dominated field as well. And as a woman, I don't want to give anybody the opportunity to say that I only got a job or a position because I was a woman. So I think definitely education and boosting my qualifications through UCC, that's probably going to help with that, I hope.
Brilliant. You've had such a diverse career path already. It's so impressive. And I think one thing will be very clear today is how impressive everyone on this panel is. It's intimidating, to be honest. Next up, I might invite Taig Dennehy onto the kind of stage to discuss his experience.
Hi everyone. So my name is Taig Dennehy. I'm a second year PhD student in the Department of Film and Screen Media. I also hold a master's in creative documentary from the University of Edinburgh, the Edinburgh College of Art. And then I did my undergraduate in UCC about 10 years ago now, which is kind of scary to say out loud. So like since I started my academic career, it's always been a real aspiration of mine to pursue PhD study, and that stretches back to my childhood as well. Like, being, say, looking at uncles and aunties and stuff who had done PhD study, the kind of idea of dedicating yourself to something that you're so passionate about to that level was always something that had such a great hold over me. So I did my undergraduate in UCC, and then I took a few years out to work in various fields in theatre and in film, and I then decided to do a master's in Edinburgh. And it was while I was over there, I actually decided to come back to Cork to pursue the PhD in UCC. And part of that is down to the kind of the mentorship that was available to me that I'm now availing of at UCC. I felt while I was studying abroad, I wasn't exactly, not that I felt there was something missing in terms of that kind of level of direction and level of kind of one-on-one mentorship and help that is available at UCC. And that's what brought me back to get back in touch with one of my old undergraduate lecturers to see if he would supervise me for my PhD, which he fortunately agreed to. So that was great. And then I also work at the moment with the Skills Centre in UCC, which is it's an active learning space for students to broaden their study and research skills. And like, not to sound corny, but it's a good way to kind of give back. So like, I am now mentoring while also on the receiving end of mentorship, which is a great way to kind of see the kind of full circle of the function of mentorship in postgraduate study. And that's a facility that's available to all students for free, whether it's something you might need a little bit of help with an essay, or you might be a couple of years out of education and need a bit of a rejig or a kind of a rehash on some stuff. So it's a great facility available to students, and it's great to be part of as well. And I just think it's one of a number of really fantastic outlets that are available to students in UCC, and it's what makes UCC such a rich and nurturing research and learning space and environment. So yeah, I'll pass back over to Niamh. So
brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's such an insight into what UCC really looks like day to day, and also showcases the facilities available to students who are coming from UCC, especially students who don't have English as their first language. There's loads of supports for those students, as well as students maybe returning to education. Again, lots of supports, and then further afield into mental health and healthcare and disability help. So I might move on to Bajoy George now, who is a taught master's program, so a little bit different to a PhD. So Bajoy, if you'd like to share your experience in PG life and why you selected your course.
Hi, it's wonderful to be in this platform, and I'm Bajoy Thomas George from India, and I'm doing my master's in UCC in Management Information and Managerial Accounting Systems. So I did my undergraduate from India, and I had close to 4 years of work experience. I was in the industry, in the corporate world. And after some time, I felt that I wanted to study some more. I felt that I'm getting stagnated in my career, and I wanted to pursue another level or probably study more. So there was a confusion where to go, which country to go. That's when, Ireland, I came to know about Ireland, and through one of my friend, I came to know about UCC, and I started attending many of the webinars of UCC. And at last I chose UCC, and being here today, I don't regret the decision that I've taken to be a part of UCC and doing a master's program here. Such a diverse university, close to 105 nationals across, and good exposure. If I would have done my master's in India, I never get such a good exposure. And being a part of society and clubs, and I'm also the international student coordinator in the Christian Union. So a lot of interaction, a lot of exposure to me. And the master's program is also very amazing. It's a blend of IT with some accounts, and which can really boost your CV and your career in this country. So master's is very wide, very expandable, and it's not like an undergraduate, but UCC's professors and mentors, they are so supportive that they help you and they guide you in all the areas. And so doing a PG or master's course in your lifetime is a great achievement, I would say. It can turn up your career. It can take you to the next level of your entry in the job market, to a higher managerial positions. And there's a lot of limitations with doing an undergraduate and being in the industry, and doing a master's and being in the industry is totally different. You get a heads up among the pool of a lot of candidates. So doing a master's is a wonderful thing, and I really feel that UCC has given up a lot of options, and the Cork University Business School has been so wide, and there's a lot of areas for you to activities, clubs and societies where you can put your skills, being a part of team, a lot of teamwork, and also gain your IT skills. So it's a good exposure, I would say, and overall it's a wonderful experience for me, and I feel that please do PG studies in your lifetime. That can really, you never regret it, I tell you, and you can go forward in your life.
Brilliant. And you mentioned teamwork there. So I suppose I'm just wondering, as a taught master's student, what does your day-to-day look like in UCC? What is your day structured? Are you in lectures? Do you do tutorials? What does that look like?
Oh, it's a blend of many things actually. Back in India, the education system is different. Back here, it's totally different. So it's a busy day actually. Your lecture starts early morning from 9 o'clock, and you have one lecture in the morning, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours. Then you go be in the library. Then again, you have a lecture after some time. Then you have tutorials in the afternoon. Then if you're involved in some clubs or societies, and you get to be with the team, you meet the team physically in the campus, and you discuss on many ideas. So there are a lot of areas on that. Then in the evenings, you have some activities or some societies, and on campus, there's always some activities happening in and around. So if it's a busy day, actually, morning 9 you go, I think you come back to the room early by afternoon, evening 6, if you're a person who wants to be in the campus. The campus is so green and vivid that you don't want to leave the campus in a day. You want to spend a full day in the campus. So it's a busy day, but you will really enjoy it because it's not only a fully in the classroom experience, but you get outside exposure and also the classroom experience. And that's a blend of everything, I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bajoy, for your insight. Next up on our panel is Tinghao Liu, and Tinghao is pursuing a PhD in engineering, so a research position, back to research. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone, can you hear me? Yeah, and my name is Tinghao Liu. I'm the first year PhD in mechanical engineering, and I just finished my master program several months before, and it is a wonderful year. It is also very busy, and I enjoy that time when I was in my master degree. And for now, I'm glad that I have the chance to continue my research during the following several years. And in terms of UCC, it is a wonderful place for me to study and do a lot of research in mechanical engineering. And also, I'm really interested in designing some functional parts and also other very impressive parts, I think. And yeah, that's all I think.
Brilliant. I suppose a question for you on what I've asked Bajoy. You're in a research program now. So what does your day look like? What time do you start at? Do you have many meetings? Do you do lectures?
Yeah, for now, I didn't choose any lectures because I just signed in the PhD program. And for my daily life, every day I get up at not very early. And I would like to spend almost all of my day on my research. And it's busy, but still enjoy it. I can spend a lot of time on that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I know the power of mentoring, and both being a mentor and being a mentee at the same time has come up a bit in this conversation. So I'm going to pass you over to my colleague, Mike Vaughan, and allow him to pose the next question.
So just before we jump on to the next question, a couple of interesting ones have come up in the chat for you guys here. So we've one from Connor saying that he always wanted to study a master's degree, but isn't sure to pursue a thought or research-based master's. So just one question just for this group before everyone escapes. And then also another question, is it possible to do postgraduate and continue working? I'll answer that one quickly. It depends on the program. Lots of different disciplines make efforts to provide, I know in medicine and health specifically, there's now employment-based scholarships for PhDs. So what I'd recommend, and Carol is doing a great job in just answering in the chat for people. So a lot of the different booths for the different colleges currently online for the Postgrad Expo have specialists from each department. So I'd recommend not during the talk, but after the talk, maybe stay with us, but go and ask in your specific college, specifically about your program. So the short answer is yes, there are opportunities for certain disciplines to continue working while still doing your postgraduate research or thought programs. And then I'll throw back to you, Niamh, on the, how do you decide between a thought and research master's?
Perfect. Well, I suppose I started my PhD journey in a research master's, so maybe I'll give a tiny little bit of insight into that. A research master's is essentially a 1 year to 2 year, depending on your project, of research. So you're not attending lectures. It's very much an independent experience, and you're supposed to your own driving force. It's very much on you and your supervisor and I suppose your wider research team to kind of push yourself through and work on a thesis. Typically, the assessment of a research master's is a pass or fail, whereas a taught program is based on the kind of first class honours to pass level that people are used to. I might ask the rest of our panel, so Taig, Bajoy, Deandra and Tinghao, their opinion on a taught master's, because I haven't done one myself, and also if you know anything more about a research master's to answer that question.
Yeah, I'll just jump in there on the taught master's question. I just know that certainly in the humanities, so in the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences, that the taught masters would be like a blended program, I suppose you could call it, that like for the first 2 semesters, you're attending lectures, you're doing assignments, but then there is the final semester where it's pure research, you're working on a thesis. So it's sort of a blend of the two. So from my own experience, I did a taught masters, which had that, that was the way it was structured, and I believe that's the same with most of the taught masters in CACS, in the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences.
Yeah, and further afield, I suppose, on that, the only kind of alteration maybe within the sciences is a lot of them do a work placement as part of that research accreditation. So it'll be a 30 credit research placement in industry or in a lab. That will be the only edit, I suppose, to that general structure. Does anyone else of our panel have any comments on that?
I suppose I'm on my second taught postgraduate course, and the reason why I haven't done a research course yet is because I suppose I haven't found my niche yet. I know you can kind of explore that when you are researching and focusing on your own topic, but I think I need to find that before I would be able to commit, like having the self-discipline and the organization to, you know, work with your department and put all of that time and energy into just one. Like I remember for my undergrad dissertation, and I have to do one now again for my master's, oh God, picking one subject is just, it blows my mind. So I think if you found that, then definitely a research postgraduate course is definitely an option for you. But if you're still kind of looking, then maybe a taught program would give you more scope maybe to find that and then go on to further study, because you can do as many as you want. That's the most amazing thing.
And maybe following on from that as well, like if you're coming straight out of a BA, maybe going into a research program straight away might be it's a bit of a leap, you know, so maybe a taught program is a nice way to ease yourself into that kind of research journey. Yeah, I think that would be some good advice.
Yeah, even I feel the same, because if you're from an undergraduate, it's better to go for a taught master's, because you want to be in the class and get the feedback from industry expert, the lecturers, professors who are highly domain experts, and then you want to choose your area where you want to do. So the taught master's already has a second semester or third semester which is into research or industry exposure or something. So your first semester will be of a classroom experience, and it's a blend of both. So taught master is a good option for you. Then later, if you have identified your key area that you want to focus, it's better to go for a research that gives you plenty of opportunity and stability for your career.
Brilliant. I don't think anyone could get better advice than that from our panelists. So with that, I'll move on to Mike's question.
Brilliant. To whoever posted it in, I hope that was a really solid answer, I think, from our panel. So I'm going to introduce our next group of speakers. So we have three for this group, and I'll leave them. They all come from different backgrounds disciplinarily, but also in the type of work they do and their experience in UCC. So we have Shun Nimunakon, Hao Oyang, and Jorge Diaz are going to be joining me. So the next question, and it was referenced in the first session, mentorship is really important, and it's one of the main things that you have access to. So at all stages of your education, even from a young child, secondary school, undergraduate, you have access to mentorship. Outside of structured education, you have access to mentorship. What is a really important aspect and component of postgraduate education is the mentorship part, be that supervisors, be that course coordinators. Very important to understand the value of mentorship. A quick version of the definition is a mentor is only teaching you in one discipline specific area. So it does not matter what they're like in the rest of their life. As long as they're good at what you want to learn from them, that's what's important. That can sound a little callous, but it's important to know that mentor relationships can become very deep and long-lasting and lifelong. So it's good to know where the lines are drawn and think about it. So I'm going to ask Jorge Shun and how now. So I'll start with Shun. Could you describe some of the benefits of mentorship you've experienced, or just your thoughts on mentorship within postgrad studies, if that's all right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I am studying the MA in International Relations. So within that MA, you have the choice to study a work placement in the module. So I chose that module, and while I was going around desperately searching for a work placement to do, I sent an email to the studio manager in UCC Radio. He got back to me straight away, and he was fantastic. So I'm now the studio producer inside in UCC Radio, and Kieran Hurley, the studio manager and the head of UCC Media, student media, is fantastic. So I went in there having very little radio experience. I had already hosted a Irish-speaking show on Cork Community Radio, but that was the extent of it. Really, I knew basically nothing except how to push up and down the faders, and that's the very, very basics. So once I got in there, he has been amazing. So since September, I have come on in leaps and bounds. I now know how to completely produce and edit a podcast and how to put it out and promote it. I've taken over the UCC Radio student social media, so I'm in charge of the Twitter, in charge of the Instagram, and that as well has kind of come on as well for me, and I've figured out what's worked and what hasn't. He's given me so much freedom to express myself, kind of through the social media and through my production, but he's also been really good for giving me guidance. So whenever there's kind of an event happening on campus or anything like that, I'll go to him and I'll say, this is happening. And what he'll usually say is, okay, what do you want to do about that? So that kind of gives me the freedom to decide what I want to do, and he'll tell me then if it's a good idea or not. So the amount of times I've kind of drafted a tweet and I'll call him out and like, is this okay to put out? And he'll look at me like, no. Don't do that. That's way too sassy. They will not like that. So basically that's what it is. He's given me the freedom to express and develop and progress within kind of the media and production side of things, but he's also kind of mentored me in what's good, what's not good, what will work, and what will kind of flop, really. And it's brilliant, it really is, and he's just been incredibly helpful.
That's fantastic. So even pushing past the actual remits of your studies, you're developing skills that you wouldn't exactly see on paper when you're signing up to UCC. So that's
exactly. Yeah.
That's why we're asking this question. So how, I just suppose, would you have, what are your thoughts on mentorship in postgraduate education, or your specific experience of it?
Yes, I'm a final year food science and technology PhD student, and I'm in a project with the collaboration of Chagas and UCC. So the mentorship has played a very essential role in a lot of my studies, because my project is very multidisciplinary. So it requires a lot of expertise from different areas to help me to do the project. And I'm glad that UCC provides an environment that has a lot of expertise that could help me along the way. So just to give a bit background on my PhD project, it overall is about developing novel cheese products for Asian consumers. So, while majority of the project will be investigating the physiochemical properties of cheese, as part of the project is also beneficial to conduct a qualitative study to invest and explore consumer behavior and attitude towards cheese. So this was by far the most challenging study in my PhD study, because as a person who came from a food science background, you can probably imagine I have little idea how to conduct that study. But my supervisor has always been helpful, and he, in this case, he linked me with his previous student who had done similar experiment, and also a professor from UCC Business School to help me with this experiment. They give me very good guidance, and they patiently answered all my questions regarding this, and many of which seems very naive looking back right now, but they answered them all, and they helped me along the way. And the study is now finished and published in a good journal. So I couldn't have done this without the help of all these people.
That's fantastic. So I suppose Shun had an experience with one very crucial mentor being such a massive input. And then on the other side of it, you have access to multiple mentors in different disciplines, going from computer science to cheese, to marketing, to chemical production. You obviously need lots of different mentors. So I suppose then, Jorge, I'll jump over to you on your thoughts. And then I suppose the extra little twist I'll put on the end of the question is, so not only as a postgraduate have you access to mentors, but what largely comes into play is mentees as well. And I'm just wondering, have you any experience in that side?
In the case of mentees, I have helped a little bit in the laboratory where I work. And normally, whenever you have postgraduate students coming into it, you always have to share the experience that you have already attained from your own supervisors, like how to do certain calculations, how to use certain programs. And that knowledge is actually shared between the PhD groups that we have. My mentors in particular have been really helpful for me, like in the case of the publications and the tools I use for my research in anaerobic digestion. It's always helpful to have like this plan already set up and how to actually achieve each of the goals. Because right now I'm working for an SEI project. So we already have like the milestones set, and the mentoring is helping us to reach each of those quite easily and understandable. And whenever we have like these new people coming into the lab and joining this project, it's really easy to integrate them based on this knowledge that they already gave us.
That's fantastic. So yes, it's great learning how to teach, because so those thinking about postgraduates, just because you do postgraduate training doesn't mean you're staying in academia. In academia, it's very obvious that you'll need to start menteeing because people will come up behind you. But it's a big thing in the pushes of soft skills for employment leaving with postgraduate education is if you can teach the people below you once you join an office or an enterprise or an industry, that's really important. And that's something that is always baked into your postgraduate training, is teaching those around you as well. I suppose we've talked a lot about our academic mentors or our disciplinary mentors, but UCC also has excellent support staff and support services. So would any of the three of you want to jump in there on those extra outside again supports in UCC?
I'd like to hop in if that's okay.
Yeah, go first.
So I am actually a member of the DSS, so I have dyslexia and dyspraxia. So I've been a member of the DSS since my first year in college as an undergrad. So this is 5 years on. But they've been incredibly helpful. So actually, they provide a service where you can actually register for a mentor. So last year I did it and was paired with a mentor from Apple. So every week we would have a meeting and we would talk about kind of what I got done that week, what I think I could do better, and just general stuff. And she was incredibly helpful when I was actually discussing what kind of postgraduate route I would like to take, because I was very much split between two kind of routes. And she was incredibly helpful. So that's with the DSS, and they paired me with Apple, and I'm just incredibly grateful to her and to them because it's been a massive help. And even the DSS, aside from the assigning me a mentor have been incredibly helpful throughout the entire time of my being in UCC, both as an undergraduate and as a postgrad, because they're two very different workloads, they're two very different balances. And they've just been really helpful. They've always been there, very quick to answer emails, and just they have such specific, helpful tips and tricks for people who kind of maybe might have a different approach to academia.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I'm trying to pick a lane here, just for our audience that are wondering, and it might crop up and you might not ask the question. Neurodivergence, disability, or difference is not a barrier to postgraduate education. Siún just shared her experience there. I'm heavily dyslexic as well, and also have ADHD, and Niamh's raising her hand. She's also dyslexic. None of us can read, but here we are writing theses and writing dissertations. So that's not an issue. And Siún has done a great shout out there for the DSS and the support services there. So if that question was in the back of your mind and you were considering it, there is nothing really stopping you if you're worried on those sides. And there's lots of people to ask. Just before we finish up on this question, Jorge or How, would you have any else to add on just the excess alter mentors you might be able to find around UCC?
Well, I may jump into this one. For me, I have been also find helpful the skill center and the micro sessions that you can find for IT in the case of if you're a little bit rusty with Excel, PowerPoint, and other abilities. Like there is always someone or somewhere that you can find knowledge or that they can show you how to do certain, we could say, to use certain programs or do certain analysis in UCC. It's only about finding them into the UCC websites.
Brilliant. Just before, How, anything left to throw in just before we move on?
Well, I have less experience in the UCC since I'm mainly based in Chaga's Food Research Center in Fermoy, but I go to the Marduk Arena a lot, and they have coach there, which I suppose also mentor in a lot of exercise, and they have fantastic facility there, and I think I recommend people to take advantage of the facility as well.
Fantastic. Thank you to the three of you. In an excellent tee up to our next question, I'll pass you back to Niamh.
Brilliant. So we have our next group of panelists up now. So we have Sinead Roach and Maeve Richardson, both from the SU. And we have Clara, who is from the School of Chemistry. Brilliant. So these are our panelists, and the question I have for this group, and I suppose who better to speak about UCC than two SU representatives, then why choose UTC for your postgraduate studies? And
I'll jump in there. Apologies, I was having a mic. So for me, why UCC was a simple question. I really wanted to go to a college where there were loads of opportunities to get involved, and UCC has such a strong relationship with student extracurriculars, really strong societies departments. There's 110 societies, there's 68 clubs. We have massive peer support programs. Obviously, our student union is a great way for any activists to get involved in student issues. For me, that's why UCC, like my experience has been getting involved in the student union, protesting, get involved in societies, really expressing another side of my personality outside of academics. And I think that's something we have so much stronger than other universities in Ireland, especially, this attention to student activities. We hold, some of the best student experience awards. We won them at the Education Awards last year because we have put that effort into our student extracurriculars. There's Green Campus if you're someone who's into environmentalism, peer support if you want to support other people, and even if you're someone who doesn't have something they're interested in on campus, you can always start your own club or society, and it's a process that you're really supported through.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Maeve. I suppose on Green Campus, I might ask you, Clara, I know you're an advocate for environmental protection. You're even at COP there in the last couple of weeks. And I know your research centres within environment study. What's UCC's, I suppose, green outlook in your experience of being a postgraduate student?
Thanks, Niamh. So I'm a master's student at the Environmental Research Institute at the Department of Chemistry. I'm not involved as a member in any of the clubs, but I've been kind of dipping in and out, and it's just amazing of how much is going on. So if you're interested in environmental stuff, there's the Green Campus initiative, and there's UCC Envirosoft. And obviously at the Environmental Research Institute again, there's a lot of things you can get involved in, especially now it's picking up, which is brilliant to see. And yeah, just going to COP26 with the UCC was absolutely mind-blowing. UCC have observer statuses with the UN, so that's why we got sent to the climate conference, which was brilliant. And also just about the postgraduate study, I kind of like to point out, like, I'm from Austria myself, and the research masters I'm doing is just something that's not available in Europe at all. It's a format that's mostly in the UK and in Ireland, and I just think it's brilliant that we can do this, because if you're kind of interested in research and if there's a project that you like, but you're like, I don't know if I want to commit, 3 or 4 years of your life to a PhD, I think a master's is a great idea there anyway.
Brilliant. And I suppose, Clara, as an international student, apart from the structure of your studies, was there anything else that drew you to Ireland, and what made you maybe choose Ireland as opposed to the UK whenever they have a similar structure of teaching?
Yeah, so I suppose I kind of stumbled into Cork and I stuck around because it's both UCC and just Ireland and the city. It's people are so approachable. Everybody's really helpful. Like, I've never felt as a stranger or at a loss. Like, whenever you need help, somebody's gonna be there for you, which is absolutely amazing. And it's the same with like in college. Then all the supervisors are really approachable, super helpful, and yeah, I don't know if I'd find that anywhere else.
Fantastic. And Sinead, you are the education officer in the SU. I suppose we've heard the kind of extracurriculars of UCC. Do you have anything to add with the kind of education and teaching side of why choose UCC? You're muted there.
Oh,
sorry. Perfect. Unmuted now. Perfect.
I think even from my own experience, like, the one thing I'd say is the community element that is within UCC. And I know it was mentioned a little bit earlier, but like the sense that you get from like the campus and even like from like satellite campuses is that like there's so many different ranges of students, but at the end of the day, like, it's a community, and I think that's a huge part of it. And obviously from like an education officer point of view, I have a lot of contact with PhD students, and I think if they get in contact with me, and I think what's great there is that they have a point of contact that like they can contact the SU, and also more than that, like, they know the different departments and different people they can go to. And I think that's such a reason for UCCs. Like, there will always be someone there. Like, even like the new hub building in UCC, like, it's a student central place. And I think we're only getting better at that. We're only encouraging more student supports and also that community element as the years go on. So yeah, I think that's what I think about it.
Brilliant. And I suppose even to touch on the supports that are available free, that a lot of other educational institutes don't have an offer, there's free gym membership in UCC whenever your fees are paid. And you have access to free medical care, there's access to physio, there's access to mental health supports, as well as disability supports, and just the institution in general is really well equipped. And they're constantly progressing and upskilling the staff as well as the facilities. Do you have anything that you have kind of come across in your time, I suppose, in UCC that you thought UCC dealt with very well?
I think the big thing for me, even being on the student union this year, is that, we obviously appreciate it so much, but the student voice is appreciated, and also it's welcomed. And I think that's a huge part of it. And I think something that I think is really welcome is seeing student and lecturers as partners. And like, that's a big initiative that's been coming through like the digital education field and just education at the moment, where it's like, especially when looking at PhDs, where it's like, this is, your work, and you're coming into a new institution, but there's an appreciation there for not only the work you do, but how you partner that with UCC and like the lecturing staff, but also the like supportive staff, where it's a team element, and that's something that I think is improving every year, and that's being encouraged.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I suppose it's a question I've asked previous panelists, but maybe I'll ask some of the SU representatives what their day looks like, what their role looks like as well, for any of those politically minded people who might be gunning for your jobs in the future. So maybe I'll just ask both Maeve and Sinead just to say what your role looks like and how your day is structured.
Maeve, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to start there. So I'm the Communications and Engagement Officer. So every day is different. I think that's the one thing about it, is that you never know what's going to come up. An important part of UCC Students Union is empowering the student voice, getting in contact with class reps, getting in contact with activists across the campus. And that's something that's very important to us this year. Communicating with students across all the campuses and making sure everyone's voice is heard. And day to day, that's what we get up to. We're engaging with students every day to make sure that we can represent them to do the best that they can. And, how we communicate, we're always looking for new platforms to communicate with people. We've really taken a shine to TikTok this year. Actually, Sinead is great. So it's UCC Students Union on TikTok if you want to watch a little bit of what we get up to. And you can see all our social media platforms are at UCCSU. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, moderating those, making sure that every student gets responded to is kind of what my day gets up to, and engaging with the media. And communications is really fun, but it can be really chaotic. But it's something that's absolutely amazing to get involved with. And if you come to UCC, you can get involved in the student union, whether that's through the welfare crew, whether that's through the entertainments crew, whether that's through UCC students activists, being a class rep or an entertainments rep. There's so many ways to get involved and to make sure the student voice is heard across our campus.
Yeah, just to echo what Maeve said there, it's a day-to-day is very unpredictable, which can be good as well. But I'm education and the deputy president, so a lot of meetings, but meetings are great because I get to really engage with the different staff and the different committees. And like Maeve said, that's where it's so crucial where we hear the student voice. And, it's so crucial when we look at PhDs in particular. Like this year, we've tried to engage with PhDs a lot more than in previous years, just because we want to make sure that not only is their voice heard, but like they have a different experience than undergrad would. And we want people to know that once you join UCC, you're automatically a member of the student union. There's not an application process, you're a part of the union, and we want to make sure that every student knows that. But yeah, Maeve's kind of put it in perfectly. But it's unpredictable, but fun. And I think the reason why we love our jobs is because we get to engage with students, and we want students to have the best experience that they can have in UCC, because we think it's an amazing college.
Brilliant, fantastic. And I suppose on that and student representation, there's also the opportunity for students to join committees and be reps within their courses, as well as teaching opportunities and tutoring opportunities. So it is really a multifaceted educational system in both improving your CV in extracurricular sense, as well as just your education. And Clara, I believe you are pursuing a master's by research within the School of Chemistry. Would you like to kind of touch on what your day looks like versus the taught master's programs we've heard previously?
Yeah, sure. So within the research masters, you have to take at least 15 credits. So you'd have the odd lecture, all right, but most of it you'd be working on your project. And for me, that was part field work, part lab work, and then part just data analysis and writing it up. So at the moment, my day-to-day is sitting in front of a computer and staring at Excel until it drives me mad. But the fieldwork was really interesting and very challenging. So they asked me at the start, do you have a driver's license? And then they gave me a van and said, okay, you go out in the field and sample now, which was really, it was great looking back. And so, yeah, whatever your project is about, really. And for the lab work, I actually had to go to Germany because we're in partnership with a university there, and they let me work in their lab, which was a great experience as well. So it'll depend on your project very much, and a lot of it is up to yourself as well. So to actually get out of bed in the morning and do your work.
Yes, it's a very disciplined program to undertake, especially as a master's. I think you kind of know what you're signing up for as a PhD student. You know it's going to be like the long haul, a lot of hard work, a lot of time on your own, but maybe it's not as clear whenever you're pursuing a research master's. So it's fantastic to hear your perspective.
So Niamh's accidentally dropped out there, so I'll jump back in. It's great. Like, we're all obviously plugging UCC. So Niamh's Chrome just failed completely, so it wasn't a slip of a button. So I have a couple of questions that have just jumped in. There we go. I have a couple of questions that just jumped in. Maeve or Sinead, if you'd be able to answer for me, just coming in from the chat, and that's what I'm checking here, is where is it collated, all of the services that are available for UCC students? Or is there a specific website link that we can put into the chat for our audience to take a look at?
Sorry, I'm just unmuting. I'm not sure if I muted there. Yeah, it should be all available on the UCC website. I can just search there on my Google and link it in. It would just mention all the supports that are available, because obviously there's the academic supports, and then you have, the mental health supports, and then like the gym and medical, etc. So it's just the UCC website that'll be able to have all the information there.
Yeah, and if people want to look at those services individually, as we're looking for that link, the gym is called the Mardyke Arena. You can see the sort of facilities that are available there: swimming pool, gym facilities, running track. Access to sports facilities that are absolutely amazing. Down here, if you Google UCC Student Health as well, you can see you essentially get access to general practitioner services, as well as for physio and counselling and referrals to higher services as well. So you can look out for those, and just if you want to look at them specifically, you can Google those names.
Great, thank you. Sorry, my Chrome failed. It wouldn't be an online event if someone didn't drop off the call out of nowhere. So we just have another question there with regards to, I suppose, outreach programs. I know they're specifically mentioning mental health and volunteering within mental health services, but have any of you been involved, I suppose, in outreach that isn't specifically to do with UCC?
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved in Cork City as well as on the campus. Within UCC, we have a number of opportunities to, if you want to get involved in mental health volunteering. First of all, there's Nightline, which is a free listening services for students at night, so that you accept calls from students, and they have texting service as well. And you listen to what students have to say, and you help guide them through some stressful times. Because sometimes what students need is, they don't want to approach counselling or anything like that. They just want to hear another peer give them support. The other opportunity that's available is the SOLVE Society, which is the Mental Health Awareness Society, and they do their very best to reach out to charities within Cork City. There's Jigsaw, there's Pieta House, and they're always looking for volunteers to help out, whether that's through their phone services, their texting services, or whether that's to do fundraising. If that's something that you're interested in, making charity events happen, making a colour run happen, bringing puppies onto campus to raise funds for students, things like that. You have all these opportunities through the many club societies and other student extracurriculars on the campus.
Brilliant. And I suppose you mentioned previously, if there's any interest anyone does have, they can start their own societies and go through that process. And there's also loads of opportunities available, I suppose, through funding bodies and on your own kind of back, that you can produce outreach as well. I know myself, I started an outreach project recently. So those things are always available to pursue, whether they exist now or you have to make them exist.
So I suppose as we're heading into our last 5 minutes, if you have any more specific questions for our panelists, do put them into the chat now, and we'll try and get to them. We've all been saying such lovely things about UCC, because obviously we have a fondness for it. What is important, and we have it from our Students Union, myself and Niamh from the Postgraduate Council as well, if there's something wrong, we fight to fix it, and that's a lovely freedom that we're afforded in UCC as well. We have a voice to make change. Overall, encompassing our entire discussion today is postgraduate studies can be the right choice for many people for different reasons, and it doesn't matter what your reason is. If it's right for you, it's right for you. the opportunities afforded to you in postgraduate studies are not limited to the discipline or the title of your study. You could be learning how to run a radio station when you're meant to be learning about law or international relations. My apologies, Shun. There's lots of different reasons and extra things you can learn, as just in the discussion there on outreach. Niamh started a podcast. She's learning chemical manufacturing and assessment of molecules. There's other benefits of once you work in funding into your programs. I've gotten to travel. I meant to be growing stuff in my own lab, and I wandered off to other places to learn different skills that I really shouldn't be doing. Even in the course of this project for the Postgrad Expo, myself and Niamh had to learn how to edit videos. That was a whole experience, learning how to light a shot, which I'm not using here as well. So there is a massive, expansive opportunity available in postgraduate education. And there are a lot of people to not only help you during postgraduate education, but also help you get to it. We know funding opportunities for postgraduates can be very, very difficult. And lots of postgraduates, both thought and research, stress about funding constantly. It is very difficult. It is very stressful. But there are supports. There are lots of things to learn. Niamh, I haven't looked in the chat, so if you're spotting any specific ones that we can pull out, just cut across me. But my advice is, if you are passionate about pursuing something and funding starts to become a question, you can reach out and ask for help. There's the UCC Finance Office, and there are funding bodies, both nationally, internationally, and locally. There's lots of different ways to work out funding. So I'm going to take a quick sconce at the chat.
I suppose I just want to hop in there and say, yes, if you are a student in UCC, you are automatically a member of UCC Students Union. So if you need representation on campus, there are plenty of bodies, such as your class reps, such as PG Council, such as UCC Students Union, that you can reach out to if you're having any issues, whether that's to do with funding, whether that's to do with, with academics, anything like that. We are here to be approached, and we are here to listen to you. And, you're always going to be listened to in UCC, especially by your Students Union and by the PG Council. So don't be afraid to reach out if you have any questions. And if you do become a registered student, you are automatically part of, I suppose, a family to a certain degree. That's the point of being in a union, that we all stick together and we all stand up for each other.
Brilliant. Thank you. We're just heading into the wrap-up now as answers are going into the chat. I saw one question about international students' access to medical services. In Ireland, we have a semi-private, semi-public system. It's a bit of a mess. Yes, as a registered student, you have access to the medical services. If you are coming in on a visa, certain countries have visa requirements for medical insurance. So that is something to look into. The benefit in Ireland is you can have access through your publicly funded or your private access. So there's a mix there. But my main thing is, if you're coming in as an international student, is check the visa requirements. You can also talk to our UCC International Office, and they have a stand as well. I think that's the last one I just caught out of the corner of my eye. Niamh?
Yeah, I think that's everything. I think everything else is more specific, so we'll leave those to be answered within the chat. So I think that is all from us. Thank you for coming today. I hope this helped. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact Mike or I. The email address is pgcouncil@ucc.ie. We'll stick it into the chat. If anything else comes up or you've heard that you want to kind of ask in a more private setting, you're more than welcome to. I'd be silly if I didn't plug my podcast now here. So I run a careers podcast, more specifically in chemistry and science, but I suppose the inner workings of the day-to-day jobs and how the study works is more applicable to everyone. So if you've an interest in kind of taught programs, research programs, PhDs in industry, or through the classic academic setting, do tune in. It's called The Periodic Table of People, and it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get podcasts. The next season will be coming out after Christmas, and it is based on kind of women in science and what those careers look like and what their educational background is. So if that is something you're interested in, please do tune in.
I have no podcast to plug, but I will encourage you all to go back into the main lobby for the PG Expo, check out the different booths. If you're thinking about something, reach out and talk to them. We just popped in our email there. We're always happy for chat. And just thank you for all of our panelists for joining us today. Our audience can't appreciate how qualified a panel we had today, but we had not time to this. We could have spent an hour with everyone. So we just want to thank our panelists. We want to thank Mick and Maggie for the technical side of it, and for Carol and Lenka for setting us up with UCC recruitment. Any other questions, do reach out, and everyone have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of the expo.
Thanks, everyone.